Yeah, that's one word for it, exciting. I'm joined again, Kamali, by two people who know a lot more about this whole process than I do. On my immediate left, David Levinthal, senior political reporter for the Centre for Public Integrity, brackets neutral. And on the far left, Dr. Sean Michael Cox, the director of the International Academic Affairs from the Başakşehir University. Pronunciation perfect, I think.
Perfect.
Excellent. Right, let's look at this very, very tight race. Monday night, all the national polls ranging from 3 to 5 or 6 points in favor of Hillary Clinton. Okay, there's a lot of Twitter talk here from the American pundits that we should fire, at the very least, all the pollsters the day after the election. But what is it that Donald Trump has done so well at in the last few days that has closed this gap so dramatically? Dave first.
Well, first of all, polls are a snapshot in time, and they can change very suddenly. What polls don't capture is waves of excitement and waves of energy and waves of motivation that might not necessarily be picked up by something that's being conducted over the phone or something that's being conducted online. So by virtue of that, we clearly have a situation that is wildly different than we would have even expected a couple of days ago. This is not the first time the polls have been wrong.
No,
you got to remember.
And yet we still, every year, we come and spend millions of dollars on them. It does seem to be a bit of a waste of money.
But at the same time, too, people want to predict the future. It's as cliche as anything, but truly the only poll that matters is the one on election day. And sometimes it just changes the way that people would ever think about it, even a couple days beforehand.
Sean, who are the people who've come out of the woodwork, if you like, and haven't been talking to the pollsters either way, and have started to seemingly vote for Trump in big numbers?
Well, statistically speaking, it's this small wedge of people, 5 to 8% of the undecided voters, who have been making the difference. As you can see from the polls, they have been very close to the margin of error, and it's this small group of people right in the middle that up until the last minute hadn't decided that's now impacting the vote.
Okay, and in terms of the Hillary Clinton issue, whether it's going to be a failure or not, we still don't know. It is a hypothetical case. What is it that Hillary's done wrong? I mean, if you look at Donald Trump and all the things that he said during the campaign and the ups and downs of that, why is she so toxic, Dave?
Well, one thing that the polls did get right is that Hillary Clinton is not popular. She's one of the most unpopular presidential candidates in modern U.S. history. Now, Donald Trump is right up there with her, but at the same time, too, you can't overstate the fact that Hillary Clinton is not well liked by certainly many conservatives, but also too many independents, people who could potentially be on the fence. So that obviously is dogging her in a huge way tonight, but it's something that was clearly there and something that perhaps her own campaign underestimated, and whether it was the email scandals or Benghazi or some of these other types of flashpoints during the course of her campaign, she often came off to a lot of folks as being aloof or not really truly genuinely caring about that, and that's coming home to roost today.
All right, Sean, just before I get your views on the Hillary problem, whether it is a problem, Colorado called for Mrs. Clinton. Some good news for her there. What is your interpretation of the Hillary Clinton problem? Why is she such a polarizing figure? Why do people say anyone but Hillary?
She's never been able to make a really strong connection to the voters, to the people, to the common man and woman on the street. Her lifelong career in public service has mostly been behind the scenes, and while she's been trying to play it up and the campaign has been trying to emphasize it since the summer, they haven't done a very good job of connecting her experience with what is needed to win.
Of course, and we don't know the results of this election yet, and we don't know what the voting demographics, who got out and who didn't get out. So it is all speculation at this point. In terms of the market's reaction, we've got Dow Jones futures down 750 points at one point. Some pretty startling drops in Asia. The markets clearly bracing themselves for the possibility of a Trump victory. They don't like the idea.
Well, polls don't measure the visceral connection that a person has to a candidate. There are so many people out there who do have that visceral connection to Donald Trump, who believe with their heart and their soul that he is the right person for this country at this moment. And that was always the question about Hillary Clinton, is whether people could get excited enough about her to go
But with
to
Trump, it was a message
the
as
ballot
well
booth.
with Trump. It wasn't just the personality and the pointy finger. I mean, he had some issues to communicate.
Well, yes,
many
he did.
of them were rather distasteful.
But take Donald Trump out of the equation and have some other candidate communicate those messages. I think we have a very different scenario here. Much of it was going back to Donald Trump. Much of it was the Trumpian way that things were communicated. So I don't think that you can take the personality out of the message. They're inextricably linked. And with Hillary Clinton, she could say all the right things. She could come off as being more professional and more polished than Donald Trump would any day of the week. But at the same time, too, the notion of connecting with people to motivate them to go to the polls and vote for her. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I support Hillary Clinton when you're doing a phone poll. A very different thing to get up, go to the ballot booth, early vote, do whatever it takes to cast your ballot.
Sean, what do you think about this notion that it's not necessarily just the Trump factor, but there was just this huge grievance button and someone just had to come along and push it? And in this case, it was Trump, but it could have been somebody else.
Oh, it's absolutely correct. Trump's done a wonderful job of exploiting the grievance that people have with politics as usual in Washington. And in fact, he's done a wonderful job over the last 2 weeks or so of staying on message and attacking Secretary Clinton in those areas of perceived weakness, her connection to the Washington establishment. He's been very, very good. He's been running a campaign that the Republican Party has wanted him to run since he secured the nomination last summer.
But it's not just about attacking the Washington thing, is it? I mean, we've seen in the campaign some pretty outrageous statements of intent. The wall, the Muslim exclusion, other things. I mean, these are not just capitalizing on people's disaffection with the Washington process. These are horrible things, aren't they?
For many Democrats, they think it unthinkable that Donald Trump will
Well, it's not for Democrats,
win the
it's for ordinary
presidency,
people. Any decent
for
person
any
wouldn't.
people. But
Okay.
Democrats in particular who thought, well, nobody like that who is saying those types of things could ever be elected president. The American people writ large will not stand for it. Clearly, Donald Trump could win the presidency.
It's dangerous that message, those messages, those kinds of rhetorics that they have connected. That's a dangerous thing, isn't it? We can't just brush it off.
I don't think your average American has actually connected those type of messages to America's place in the world and what it means for the rest of the world to have a leader like that. Americans have this grievance. They're dissatisfied with politics as usual. They like the fact that Trump is shaking things up, but they don't understand the far-reaching and wide-ranging implications of those.
But a number of them, you might speculate, a large number of them, also rather like it when he says these things about Mexicans and Muslims, is my sense. Do you agree with that, or is that unfair? That there is a rising tide of nastiness here that he's also tapping into.
Well, sure, and people are very upset about the state of their personal affairs and see Donald Trump as somebody who can give them a voice that they otherwise wouldn't have with another candidate, be that Hillary
By
Clinton
blaming
or,
someone else. That's an old, dangerous trick, isn't it?
Well, just so you don't have to be that deep of a student in politics to know that this is a tried and true way to get people excited and get people riled up. Hillary Clinton could still very well win this race. Donald Trump could very well win it too. We have a lot of election tonight to go.
Yeah, of course, absolutely right.
But at the same
yes.
time too, when you're running a campaign, you're running to win. That's a very, very different thing than governing. So
Okay.
people oftentimes are thinking of things in just a campaign mode and not what's going to happen if they actually put that person in the White House.
Thank you for that. Again, we've run out of time. Thank you both very much for bringing your insight to this debate. We've been talking as if the Trump campaign is victorious. It isn't yet, but there is a growing sense of that he is close to the target. Back to you.
Thank you very much.